Okay, everyone, hang on tight. This should be thrilling. So here are the ratings or reviews on L. Ron Hubbard Dianetics. There's 4,103 ratings. Obviously, I'm not reading all those. So let's get this party started. I'm not going to read the whole, New York Times bestseller, and wait until I read one of these articles in which the newspaper had to bring up the number 33 with Scientology because, Okay, so the overall rating, I believe it fell somewhere around a 5, something like that. And we know there's a lot of Scientologists rating it. Mike rated it 5 stars. This is back in 2008. Just kidding. See, I find it odd when people do stuff like that because if you do that, you're going to throw the whole entire average off. Books ring ma bell. September 23rd, 2010. I'm gonna go to the whole thing first. Strolling through Barnes & Noble, yeah, I remember those days. I saw this book on the used rack and picked it up out of curiosity. Funniest thing I have ever skimmed, ever. They gave it a 1 star, by the way. I love how L. Ron felt the need to define words, allegedly, throughout the book. Words like idyllic, procreate, tome, pallid, and testosterone. What does he think of his readers to have to define such challenging words? This is when allegedly all this stuff started. Perhaps they are not intelligent enough to use a dictionary. He must have a misunderstood word. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud at this. I can't, you guys. I'm going to read it. It's a little dicey, but not too bad. I laughed out loud at this. I'm sorry. Coitus chain lover. I had to hurry that one up. First incident, embryo. All painful because of enthusiasm of lover. That sounds very Freudian. Shocking, I know. Constipation chain. First incident, zygote. Each incident building high pressure on child. They got to, of course there's the M word. You guys know what M word. Because he seemed to be obsessed with that. The M chain. First incident, embryo. 80 succeeding incidents. Mother, this is unreal. I might have to just skip reading this one. Not the review, but the book. Mother doing the M word, because with the blank. Oh my God, I can't even read this, you guys. It's sick. It's sick. It's really sick. It's very satanic, by the way, but what the F do I know, right? All I can say is it has to do with the child and the mother and something that should never be mentioned in the same sentence as a child. Period. But that was a bestsellers list. Don't you guys wonder why that would be? No wonder the world is so screwed up. And no wonder this was in the used section. Sounds like it should have been in the bin fire, but I certainly would not want this rubbish on my shelves. One word you don't need to define for your readers. L. Ron crap. So there's 108 comments. 4,000 ratings, but 108 comments? Huh. David Russell, January 17th. Oh, wait a minute, guys. Okay, let me go back to the initial screen. So, of course, people had to rag on him for that one. So that was 108 comments to his rating. Very John Atack. Otto Leto rated it 3 stars. August 21st, 2012. I mean, after what I just read was in there, I don't know how anyone could read it. The reviews here are largely based on the bipolar division into the Scientology apologists on the one hand and the anti-Scientology bigots on the other hand. I mean, honestly, we really don't know exactly who's writing these either. Sounds very Scientology to write something like this. Because not everyday Joes would not know that terminology. On the other hand, I consider myself neither. Right. Well, maybe. This book, people were very passionate about their reviews. This book contains fabrications, inventions, unsubstantiated claims, and outright falsehoods. It is the beginning of what probably started out as L. Ron Hubbard's conscious plan to start a cult based on himself. Allegedly, it was just him by himself. On the grandiose intellectual fantasies and on his not inconsiderable skills as a prose writer and armchair philosopher. This book is an example of all of those things. Dianetics is the embryo out of which Scientology grew. Allegedly. I'm going to do a Goddess Diana comparison to this too as well. You guys know who worships her, right? Well, not everyone. There's good and bad in almost everything in the world. It contains the nuts and bolts of auditing, the process of Dianetic therapy, and the basic terms of what later became the cult and religion of Scientology, although still in the secular guise of self-help procedures in a kind of do-it-yourself mock-up psychotherapy whose aim is the alleviation of all non-physical ailments of man and of all psychosomatic illnesses, and the achievement of the rather improbable but alluring and fascinating state of clear, a kind of perfectly rational, clear-headed, Rondian, Nietzschean class of supermen who are entirely without any hang-ups or other normal human problems. Very narcissistic of them. Such grandiose claims are, of course, without merit. This person's mad, I don't blame him. But they are only one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, the one that fascinates me, is the story of what could have been, namely, how great a philosopher and thinker L. Ron Hubbard could have been, had he only been less, well, greedy and evil, I suppose. The fabrication of physical engrams and the Gnostic fantasy of the superhuman clear are only a twisted version of a true and perfectly reasonable philosophy hidden within the core of the book. These are glimpses of his greatness in the book. The first half of the book is a kind of continuation of the work of centuries of moral philosophy aimed at the gradual perfection of man, combined with the modern science of social Darwinists and psychological approaches to human life and human consciousness. The result is a reasonably interesting thesis about the functioning of the human body. I find it very convincing. The bulk of the document, he probably stole from a whole lot of people for that one. The bulk of the document, the root, is solid. Only the tree that grows out of it is rotten and murky. L. Ron Hubbard unfortunately doesn't stick with solid reality, but enters into science fiction territory as soon as you can say charlatan. The sad fact is that Hubbard was not content to stick with clear-headed thinking, and instead follow the more selfish and self-serving urge, common to all confidence men, to spice up his sound, philosophical ideas, most of which, to be sure, he borrowed from others' facts, like Freud and Spencer, with a lot of outrageous nonsense and cultish fanaticism to make it more sellable and appealing to desperate readers looking for a quick fix. This makes the whole book feel like a missed opportunity. Of course, superficially, the book was anything but a missed opportunity. After all, it spawned a whole religion, allegedly. If you guys know, you know, and has sold millions upon millions of copies. But in the end, it is the sort of book that in 100 years will be forgotten. It already is. It will never rank a great leap in human thinking or achieve the sort of intellectual fame that Hubbard probably, despite all his BS, deep down wanted. And also, I've got some theories on Hubbard's father. I won't get too deep into it, but clearly, little Ronnie was very insecure. He could have been one of the most important thinkers of the 20th century. I don't know about that. He had the brains and the writing skills and the charisma for it. Where'd you get that information? Instead, he chose to be one of the most popular deceivers of mankind of the 20th century. Kind of like some of the men that we see in the anti-Scientology community. But I digress. But it also means he missed the boat to greatness. He doomed himself to oblivion through a comet rise to temporary fame. I find it a sad but compelling story. The tale spun by the history of what followed is the story of a tragic man who couldn't choose between fiction and fact, and chose to blend the two in the most ingenious and arguably evil way possible. He wanted to be Muhammad or Moses for the 20th century. He also wanted to be the Tolkien, I don't know how to say that, Tolkien, of psychology, that beloved of the rich and famous. He learned all the wrong lessons from Aleister Crowley. He took only the beastly aspects of the man and emulated his selfish pursuit of fame, ignoring Crowley's love of truth. Oh, I need water. He wanted to be a creator of worlds. The fact that he almost succeeded is a mind-boggling feat. Yeah, it sure is, isn't it? Isn't it weird? It is also a cautionary tale of the lure of power and the cost of fame. Such fame is a devil's bargain. Hubbard stepped into the world of dreams and fiction and purposefully destroyed his own reputation in exchange for a few gold coins and a few million gleamy-eyed followers. That's a no. That's a no. That's a no in English, N-O. That's 9 in German, 9. It's no in Spanish, no. No, no, no. But all of this does not negate the fact that Dianetics is a worthy book to study and read. It contains clever insights into the nature of the human condition. The combination of Darwinism and Freudianism is beautiful. It is desktop writings of an almost genius level of a thinker. I mean, me personally, I don't see that, but some people think he had some type of genius in him. I don't see it. Of an almost genius level of a thinker, it is almost a science. It is almost a psychology. It is almost a philosophy of man, worthy of the promised revolution of thought. And even though it is only almost all of those things, it still contains more than a few nuggets of real gold and philosophical insight, hidden within the steaming pile of malicious, cult-spawning manure. Recommended with the caveat, upon first encountering this pile of dung, watch where you put your spoon and don't eat the manure. Set it aside and dig for the ice cream and creamy goodness within. It exists. It is good. It is sad. It is beautiful. Taste it, feel it, build a better bridge. To quote the very last words of the book. That's interesting. Learn from Hubbard. Learn from the mustache man. Learn from Faust. When the devil comes, don't sell your soul. I mean, it's an interesting review. Okay. Dom rated it 1 star. September 11, 2017. 5 stars if you read it drunk as a comedy. 1 star if you incorporated this book into your life, chose it to be your new reality, or converted to Scientology after reading it. Warning, concepts in this book may be dumber than they appear. Let's see what this Scientologist has to say. So this is February 6, 2009. You guys call it like I see it. This book changed the way I view people and myself. It explains exactly why people are the way they are and what causes us to sometimes act irrationally. It gives us an exact technology to help us. Get rid of the reactive mind. You don't need this. You don't need this to get rid of bad thoughts or your reactionary behaviors, thoughts. No. And all of the negative aspects of ourselves so we can once again live a rational and happy life. Right. I've seen the miracles of this science, and I'm glad to finally have read the book firsthand to understand how it all works. And I know people get some benefits, so, I mean, not my cup of tea, but. Thing is about all these reviews and ratings that the Scientologists leave that make me sad is they're all saying the same thing. And they probably, in their minds, they're like seeing benefits, but they don't understand that it comes from within. You know, there's probably a few valid things to learn from all these courses, etc., but I'm just saying. It's all inside of my head. Okay, Christian Lipsky, rated October 29th, 2007. 1 star. To better fight the enemy, know the enemy. The funniest blend of hypnosis and psychoanalysis to come along in a good while. Hey guys, it's a science. And by science, we mean a collection of information about a thing. To explain the workings of the brain, we've made up some anthropomorphic devices that remove any blame for misdeeds committed. Wasn't the lie detector created by the CIA? Huh. You could see more concepts being invented in the author's mind as the book goes on. Yeah, he's probably dropping acid and who knows what else. As if the whole work were a stream of consciousness exercise. It's hard to imagine this crazed pseudoscience being the seed for such a twisted and deranged enterprise like Scientology. Notice they didn't say religion. Weird. Oh, by the way, you guys, Solis from Cults to Consciousness, she interviewed this guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he was a former OTO member, and I believe he was a Thalamite as well. You guys should go listen to some of the stuff he talks about. He has his own YouTube channel, and it was interesting to see how much of how Scientology is constructed and the courses and all these things were very similar to the OTO. David rated it 1 star, December 3rd, 2007. I would recommend this book to someone who enjoys writings like the potential value of an individual or a group may be expressed by the equation PV equal IDX. Wonder what he took before he wrote that. Don't you guys wonder? Where I is intelligence and D is dynamic. The worth of an individual is computed in terms of the alignment on any dynamic of his potential value. Oh no, don't worry. Hubbard allegedly defined everyone's value. Yeah. Of his potential value with optimum survival along that dynamic. A high PV may be reversed vector, result in a negative worth, as in some severely aberrated persons, like a child. A high PV on any dynamic assures a high worth only in the unaberrated person. That was painful to me. Mind you, L. Ron Hubbard, he flunked physics. I don't think that was, it was similar to physics, but it's more like an algebraic equation. They all kind of go together. Let's see what this Scientologist says. How much do you guys bet his review is going to be very similar to the one we just heard 2 minutes ago? Okay, Anthony Ventreo. Wonder where Anthony's from. Don't you guys wonder where he's from? And maybe if he has his passport locked up? By far one of the most important books that I have ever read in my life. I would have to say that. At first, I was a little intimidated by it because of its length. However, after I got started, I learned a lot more about myself and why I am the way I am. Anyone who has read this book and has not been changed in some way, shape, or form is simply not a normal person. Like little Davy? Little Davy from the fake Space Navy. I don't know. It appears to me, and just by what I've heard about him, he seems extremely psychopathic to me. He surpasses narcissism. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's joining those little parties, if you know what I mean. It's my opinion. It is free to have an opinion. This is one of those books that will change your life. Any Scientologist will tell you, like a child, that this book is a stepping stone to many greater things. And they are right. As you continue onto the basics, you will gain more knowledge about yourself and others around you than you will ever get from any other book in existence. From any other book in existence, everyone. See how they go over the top? Jeez. Truly, this book and those that follow will be the most important books you will ever read. I wonder if he had a Spanish accent. I don't know if I could do a good Spanish accent. I might be. I might be able to do an East Indian accent. I'm kind of good at that one. And not to mock people, but just to have a little bit of fun. One of my exes was East Indian, so he's Punjab. Okay. Ugmar rated it March 15th, 2009. 1 star. Rambling, illogical, fantastical, and a total mess. I'd only recommend this to somebody who wants to know more about the batshit insane Scientology. How it is. Other than that, don't bother. I will take him up on that one. Well, this is weird. maybe there's a such thing as no stars. Okay. This is Mike. He wrote a review, September 9, 2016. Prompted by the Church of Scientology, I passed on the UT Austin campus nearly every day last month. I decided to finally watch Going Clear, Alex Gibney's excellent documentary on Scientology. While watching the old footage of L. Ron Hubbard on his boat, king in his own self-created reality, yeah, delusion in my head, I realized that he seemed somehow familiar. Not his physical body, perhaps, but something about his face, his expressions and mannerisms. At one point in the footage, a reporter asks Hubbard, "Has it occurred to you that you may be quite mad?" Hubbard smiles, an insane little smile. That's when it hit me. Of course, L. Ron Hubbard is Donald Trump. You guys don't shoot the messenger, man. I think he reminds me a little of the Mustache Guy, but, Mustache Guy was an actor. If you know, you know. Hear me out. Trump University, for example, is not a university in the same way the Church of Scientology is. Not a church. Go see what Stephen Hassan says about all that. They're both bait and switch money making schemes. Well, join the club now. You guys know who the Bushes are? You should do a little research. Trump and Hubbard both tested out their acts in the realm of entertainment. Trump on TV, Hubbard in science fiction pulp magazines, where he included in his short fiction many of the ideas that would resurface as doctrine in Scientology, before attempting to present themselves as serious to mass audiences. You guys think Trump's making his own decisions? That's all I'm going to say. And I'm not a fan, just letting you know. Trump has applied the sensibility of reality TV to politics. It's all a stage, man. All the world is a stage. The sensibility of reality TV to politics. Hubbard applied the sensibility of science fiction to religion. Both deliberately capitalized on Americans' susceptibility to celebrity. Trump on his own, Hubbard by starting the first Church of Scientology in Hollywood and cultivating actors as apostles. Both encourage a nostalgia for a mythical time that never existed. Hubbard 75 million years ago, when humans lived on another planet much like 1950s Americans. Trump, an undefined time when America was great, and blame the loss on that past prosperity on enemies. There's always got to be an enemy, you guys. Xeno the Galactic Overlord and roaming hordes of illegal immigrants, respectively. There's always got to be an enemy. Go look to see what's happening in Ireland. They're all playing from the same playbooks. Trump's campaign can be seen charitably as a satire of politics, and Scientology can be seen as a satire of religion. I'm genuinely curious, come to think of it, why an organization like Scientology has never fielded a candidate for president, at least as far as I know. Surely Travolta or Cruz could easily get 5%, especially this year. I did a Google search, and unfortunately it does seem as though the Church of Scientology has endorsed Trump. Disappointing, but there's still time. Okay. You could literally be on this one like for hours. See, how long am I at here? I'm at half hour. Josh rated it 1 star, March 9th, 2009. In a word, tripe. In 2 words, utter tripe. In 3 or more, utter and complete tripe. A better title would have been Dianetics, the modern science of the mentally unstable. Or ways in which I show I have no idea what I'm talking about, by L. Ron Hubbard. His science fiction was and always will be terrible, and I include this bunk in that pile. Though to use the word science at all is overly misleading, yeah. At no point are the methods for these scientific facts ever mentioned or brought up. This is fiction. Through and through, fiction, written by probably the only person who is writing I like less than Stephanie Myers. Though I am ashamed to admit I even touched this book, let alone read it, I'm writing this as a heads up to anyone who might be curious. Read it if you're up for a good laugh, but be prepared to lose some brain cells. There you go. Let's see what this Scientologist has to say. And rated it 5 stars. You know, they're never like, they never give it a 4 or a 3. I mean, it's just, I originally read this book in 1978. I realized while reading it, why I was doing street drugs and completely quit. She completely quit. I also realized why I was having so much trouble with relationships. Maybe because you were young, 20-something? I am so glad that part of my life is over. And I've never regretted it for a second. I've now remained drug free, have been married 26 years to the same wonderful man, have 2 children, both now adults and living very well on their own. My quality of life changed so much with this book that I want to share it with others. Oh. Okay. I have to wonder about some of these freaking reviews. I mean, they have to be Scientologists. Okay, this sounds very Scientologist, honestly. Gary rated it at 5 stars, so there's that. January 16, 2008. Reading it made me high. I mean, you know how against the drugs they are. Which is not always a bad thing. Not always. But, you know, it depends on what kind and to what extent and all that stuff. If it's going to save your life, etc. Sharon Graves rated it January 18th, 2008. 5 stars, everyone. This book answered many questions for me. It helped me sort out my life. Kind of like 99.9% of all the other reviews or ratings that I've read. You ever notice that? Or if they love to talk about the buildings and how clean they are. I mean, helped me sort out my life and begin to take control. If you are having trouble with anything in your life, this book can help. Sharon's in ethics right now, but, you know, Zsoft, here's another Scientologist. Zsoft rated it 5 stars, May 20th, 2011. Thus far, it makes sense. Maybe he's not a Scientologist. Well, we'll see. This is not an easy read, considering the plethora of New Year's that my ESL studies did not cover in the past. So he's not a non-native speaker, of course, right? He's a non-native speaker. Shocking. Fortunately, I found an awesome reference in the basic study manual that helps me speed up my study progress. This book was way ahead of its time. I just can't take it. And half a century later, the majority of the people still ridicule it, like people ridiculed Galileo. We're going to put Hubbard in the category of Galileo. I mean, a little bit of grandiosity there, a little bit of entitlement. I mean, where to begin? Galileo, who stated the earth is not flat. The more negative opinion I see about this book, the more it reinforces its value to me. Have you seen the Time magazine top 100 most influential people list lately? Well, take a look at it, and there you go. A real good snapshot of the global consciousness as to what popularity is about. You know, just like influencers. I added that. If you are an intelligent reader and do have an educated counterpoint of view, please share it. Thus far, I did not meet nor hear any valid counter-argument against any one of the 194 axioms of this book, nor any other statement in this or other LRH books. If, on the other hand, you are also a serious student of Dianetics and looking for a twin study, you guys go look up the twin studies in Argentina, Dr. Mengele. Also, do a simple Google search of Hollywood stars and their twins. That'll make it make sense. Buddy, let me know. I'm still searching Z. So you guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I might come back to this because it's kind of fun. And I will leave a link in the description box. Peace.